one.
Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to Down to Hell.
Hello.
I'm Steph, this is Doug, and look who's with us. Mr. Robert Englund is joining us tonight down here in Hell. Thank you, Robert, for joining us. We're thrilled to bits, and there's a lot of excitement.
My pleasure, Douglas.
Before we jump into it, I want to say a couple of things in terms of parish notices. Of course, we've got the chat running, and Steph and David will monitor that. Behave yourselves.
I will do my best.
Steph's monitoring, so she'll kick you out if you misbehave, and she don't take prisoners.
No.
Protect me.
And we'll take intelligent and sensible questions off there, either for myself or, more to the point, for Robert. Two things that I suspect may come up on chat. One I want to deal with very quickly, and that is the announcement this week of the recasting of Pinhead for the upcoming remake. Jamie Clayton has been announced as the new Pinhead, and a lot of people want to know my opinion on that, like it matters. I mean, it's the best part of 20 years that this remake has been rolling around my head, so I always knew the remake was coming. I've said a lot of time to fans that of course I'd still be up to do it, but I didn't expect to be. If there was going to be a remake, they'd start over. And I have often instanced our guest this week fortuitously, because I have said often to fans, look, if they are going to consider making a remake of Nightmare on Elm Street without Robert, than whom there has not been a more tireless and more committed champion for his franchise, then the rest of us are fucked, basically. So I've
but Doug, the thing that the fans have to realize is you've already done the original Hellraiser.
It's there. It's not going.
You've already starred in it and made it iconic. Now, if this was going to be Hellraiser 9 or 12, Freddy versus Pinhead, then you might be a little disgruntled at not doing it. But what fans need to understand is
Freddy versus Pinhead.
I can't think of an example where an actor remade the original. We do sequels, but we don't reprise the original performance that we did.
Absolutely, and it's a decision that's out of our control anyway. I think sometimes fans think that we have some influence over these decisions, which really we don't. So all I can say is I haven't seen much of Jamie's recent work, but I was a fan of Sense8 on Netflix, and I enjoyed her performance and that hugely. And it's an exciting and interesting piece of casting decision. Obviously, I will be very intrigued to see how they carry that through in relation to the Pinhead character. And basically all I'm saying is congratulations to Jamie, and good luck to everybody involved in the film, and I'm looking forward to seeing the results. The other thing that's rolling around is video games and Dead by Daylight and non-fungible tokens. Is that right?
I still don't know what all that is.
And all that.
NFTs.
Yes, there's a lot to be said about that, and I'm not going to talk about it now because it'll take up far too much time. We don't have time to waste. We have an open forum show next week, so maybe we'll get more into that. But I'm not going to answer questions about that now, or any more questions about the recasting, so don't ask them. If anyone's in the UK or further fields abroad, where it's, God help, I don't know, turned 1 o'clock in the morning already in the UK, be honest, make yourselves known on the chat, and we'll pick you out first, because we know you probably.
I will try my best. Yeah.
So that out of the way, we have Robert for limited time. He has a hard out at 9 o'clock for reasons known only to himself.
Baseball has been very, very good to me.
Dodgers and Braves, Game 5. Yes. So maybe we will carry on ourselves beyond that, but we will lose Robert at 9. So get in early with your questions if you want to. Just before we started the show, Robert, you were telling me that you're suddenly immersed in English history.
Well, I mean, we only have one lifetime, and I could have spent an entire lifetime studying the Roman Empire. And I never thought that I would be as intrigued by English history as I've become in my dotage. But a dear, dear friend of mine was absolutely captivated by the Spanish Princess, the limited series, based on a couple of novels by Philippa Gregory. And also, she also did the White Queen and the Red Queen, and I think both of us have mutual friends in those. And my co-star from the last showing is in those. But I'm reading it, and here's why it applies to tonight, Doug, to you and I. I'm up to my eyeballs in the Tudor polls, and you and I spent 6 weeks carousing in Madrid and in the footsteps of Clint Eastwood in southern Spain with our buddy Edward Tudor Pole. And it's amazing to read all about his family and the Yorks, and the Tudors. And it's just incredible stuff. And it's such a grand historic soap opera. I literally looked up some of Edward's family today on the internet, and it's just I'm kind of trying to erase that from my attention span. I was reading that this afternoon.
Right.
My mind has been there and on the news show. I don't know whether you guys are watching it, and it's exceedingly science fiction as opposed to horror. But I am quite fond of The Foundation on Netflix. And I know you know people on that too. And there's an actor on that I've just discovered named Lee Pace, who's just doing some strange, wonderful work. But it's sort of Star Wars smart meeting Dune.
It's the Asimov novels, isn't it?
It's Asimov, yes, which I read as a child and loved.
Yeah, which are sprawling to say the very least. And
yes,
I don't think I read more than the first novel, which is called The Foundation, I think, right? But Jared Harris is one of my favorite actors of the moment. So I fully intend to catch that. I just finished.
I heartily recommend it. One of the characters is constantly doing her prime numbers as a means of relaxation. And I remember that, reading about that one summer when I checked out an Asimov book, and I think I chose it for the science fiction cover. It was a soft cover pocketbook from the mobile library at the playground near my home when I was like 8 or 9 years old. But I do remember that because I was just learning what pi meant back then, as in math classes. And I remember, like the little girl kept reciting her prime number.
Or something.
Constantly recurring, never stops recurring, does it? Yeah.
But enough of that.
Well, have you read at all Hilary Mantel's trilogy of novels?
Well, I finished that as well, and I've given it to several people.
They are
because I was
brilliant.
such a fan, and I did love Wolf Hall, the film, as well.
Yes, I was less. I saw the TV adaptation version of that, and I was less taken with that. It inevitably it becomes a TV drama. Once you do that, and Wolf Hall is so very different. It's so brilliant that the only voice you
get into like Cromwell's
long novel,
love of food.
Cromwell.
Yeah, in the book you're in his head, and of course he's remembering being abroad on the continent and hanging out with Italians, in Florence, Italy, and he's a bit of a foodie. He's a bit of a gourmet. He's got a bit of a sweet tooth. So that's always in his mind as well. And he's a jack of all trades. And they couldn't really do that. They could only sort of play the cunning Machiavellian aspect with Mark Rylance, on the TV show. And also they were imprisoned by that kind of close-up reaction shot, automatic coverage for talking heads that they have to use in television. But Hilary Mantel, she is something else.
It's an astonishing achievement to maintain that through 3 big fat novels, and they're absolutely riveting. Recommend them to anyone. I was also recently myself rereading a historical novel, Catherine by Anya Seton, which is superb, which is Catherine, who was this is in the 14th century, and that's around the time of the Peasants' Revolt, and which is a fascinating period all in itself. She was the mistress of Edward.
Yes, yes.
And is actually inadvertently becomes the, as it were, the mother of almost the entire royal family down to the present day. A lot of whom were, on the wrong side of the sheets when they when they appeared in this life. Many's the time that I've called the royal family a bunch of bastards, but turns out many of them are literally as well as figuratively.
Well, I love also when you keep going back, and I'm sort of mired in the early 1500s right now, but when you keep going back, there comes that moment of time when it gets kind of witchy, and there really are curses and spells and the leftover druid thing. This is pre-Crusades.
You move forward from the Tudors into Elizabeth's reign, then that's you have very much the influence of John Dee in there as well, necromancer, astrologer, and quite an influence in the reign.
And the tower itself is such a source of horror. So for any fans listening to Doug and I right now, don't think this is all just family trees. Everybody gets their turn on the chopping block.
Eventually, yes. Yeah. Including my own first heroine in history, which was Mary, Queen of Scots.
Oh, Nancy and I we were in Edinburgh, and I had just seen,
congratulations.
Oh gosh, one of the terrific, I love all the Mary, Queen of Scots films, but we were in the rooms where so much of that happened.
In Hollywood Palace?
Oh, it's just amazing.
Well, see, we share a bit because I know you're part Scottish. I'm half Scottish on my mother's side. So
I'm double on my mother's side, because my grandfather, my grandmother on my mother's side and my grandfather are both Scottish, MacDonald and MacClellan.
Okay. Well, my grandparents lived in Edinburgh, so I spent every summer of my childhood in Edinburgh, absolutely besotted with the city.
So you went from summers in Edinburgh to rooming with Clive Barker,
well,
King Arthur to
though he had relatives up in Scotland, but in the Inner Hebrides, he spent a lot of holidays on the island of Tiree.
That's rural. And tax exempt, as I understand.
And then your other ancestry is Swedish, right?
My father is Swedish, yeah.
Right.
But
and
my mother is Scottish all the way, yeah.
Been intrigued by the common bond of the Scandinavian heritage in the modern horror franchises, with Gunnar from Iceland and you of Swedish descent, and Kane is Danish or Norwegian. I think I can't remember which.
Kane is Norwegian, yeah.
Yes.
His name's really Kane.
Yes.
Yeah, Kane. Kane Hata. But Kane Hata, if you think about it, it's like, but after correcting,
don't call him Koenig too often, because he'll.
Well, I mean, he almost sounds like he's from New Zealand, but after you have to correct your teacher in elementary school a dozen times, you say, okay, Kane, I'm Kane, I'll answer to Kane,
Sure. You, unlike me, I mean, I didn't really finally decide, I think I'm going to be an actor, till I was in my mid-20s, I think, doing The History of the Devil with Clive. This is late 70s, early 1980s, and up in Edinburgh at the Edinburgh Festival, when I finally thought, I seem to be doing this. By default, I think I'm going to continue to doing this. But you seem to have had no doubts from the get-go. I mean, you were enrolled in Cal State
Well,
children's workshop.
way before that.
Was it
I remember.
always something that was?
Yes, I don't know how this stuff happened. I remember now, and I can't think of the name of it. There was a Western television series
Right.
on in the States in the 50s and 60s. And there's so many, I can't remember which one, but one of the stars was Robert Fuller. And I actually remember I took acting classes with him before college. Right. And before traditional drama classes in junior high school and high school. And I think around the same time, probably in the winter, as I did my summer workshop, which began at this extraordinary racetrack. In the summers, they don't race the horses. It was Silkies, with the carriages. And they used those facilities as a giant summer stock theater. This magnificent old barn was converted into a theater. And that's where I began. And I took to it really fast, really quick. But all that time, all the way to college, I was being fast-tracked by my major and by my teachers and by my father to be a lawyer. Really? That's what they wanted. Yeah. In those days, you were a lawyer or an engineer or a doctor. Sure. And I was particularly gifted in reading comprehension, but nothing else except sports. But I somehow
your defense summaries in court would have been legendary. I think if you had become a lawyer.
If they gave me the claw, Your Honor. But I object. No, but
furthermore,
the thing is that I was just mediocre in everything else. Like everyone else, I was just skating by and having too much fun being a post-war child growing up in paradise, surrounded by orange trees and Malibu and everything else. Right. But I really disappointed my father by not going to Stanford. I was recruited to go to Stanford, and only because I was considered well-rounded, because I'd lettered in sports. I was on the National Thespian tour as an actor, and I'd taken a lot of electives. So there was this moment of time when they thought being well-rounded sort of counted for something, and I was recruited. But I knew I was going to be an actor, and I wish I could lay it all at the feet of the arts and lie to everybody and say, that I wanted to be an artist and that I wanted to change the world and that
you wanted to be a cowboy.
Literary bent, but I did it for the girls,
Sure.
That's what it was. I mean,
I had the full cowboy outfit when I was a boy, which I was very, the tasseled the fringed waistcoat, and I had the holsters and 2 6-shooters that you used to put the caps in, so
cap guns.
Yeah. So yes. they made
how we did the Freddy Sparks in Nightmare 1 with caps.
And I had the hat. And I can remember sitting watching Westerns, and there would be TV shows on as well, I guess, by the time it gets to me, because I'm somewhat younger than yourself, sir. It would be like, I guess, Laramie and Gunsmoke and the Virginia.
Robert Fuller's on one of those. This guy that was my coach for a while.
Okay. But
Laramie,
I
Neville Brand.
Insisted after watching Westerns, I think particularly after watching The Virginian, on wearing nothing but my cowboy uniform, and upsetting my mother greatly by insisting that when it came to meal times, I turned my chair back to front.
Like I'm doing right now.
Exactly. And ate only with a fork, because that's how people ate.
Cowboys eat.
So although there was no conscious decision in my head at that point, I think Westerns were playing a part in me deciding.
It's also the unconscious. Part of that's just the cosplay that you were doing as a child, dressing up. That really, I think that opens a door in the imagination that we walk through, which is that door of let's pretend, even though it's Doug pretend or Robert pretend. And I think once that door's open, later on in life as actors, we're able to access that,
Well, I think
Yes.
that's a necessary part of, I think, everyone's childhood. And I was listening to a psychology podcast not too long ago, and someone was suggesting that social media, in the internet in general, is sort of taking that out of childhood for a lot of kids. There's not really that pretend play anymore, and that dress up play, and that sort of thing that allows children to explore. They're so glued to the telephones now.
But it's like reading. When you read, when you have what they call free play, I think that's what the psychologists call it, free play. And when you do without being structured, without the helicopter mom,
Yes.
near you, hovering, and when you do free reading for pleasure,
Yes.
you use a part of your brain you don't use any other time. You expand and put creases in that part of your gray matter that you don't access any other time. Something happens in reading between the page and your mind's eye. As you read, as the eye scans, you fill something in, and we're losing that now.
Yes.
It may not be a terrible thing. It may be better to just know the skills of being a gamer, especially if we all have to go into space with William Shatner and fight aliens. But on the other hand, we don't know yet. I mean, I remember they're still discovering damage to male children of divorce. I mean, that statistic is still not in yet from studies on that. So what this lack of reading and what the lack of free play is going to mean a couple of generations down the road, we'll see.
But there are new skills and new awarenesses that, as you say, in terms of gaming and so forth, which are coming into process. I'm not a gamer. I've done a bit of it, and I've enjoyed virtual reality. That's fun. That's a lot of fun. Though I keep turning around in circles, which I not to
tangled
do.
in the wires.
And I tend to forget about playing the game. I just want to stand there and go, wow,
looks around.
Whoa, where does that go? What does that do?
It's such a different world.
People are trying to kill me.
It's a different world for us boomers. But I worked with Sean Levy last year this year in Stranger Things, the director. Yeah. And Sean directed this new film, Free Guy, with Ryan Reynolds, which it really takes you into the gaming world with the vocabulary and the puns and the hidden Easter eggs within the frame. And I was so proud of myself, Doug, for keeping up. But then I realized that's actually Sean's skills, that someone like me, who's not an active gamer, could follow it and still keep up with the plot and still get probably 85% of the jokes.
Well, maybe you should watch that so you could get.
I recommend it.
About Dead by Daylight type
see if
things.
I can learn about non-fungus tokens.
Non-fungus tokens.
It's a world apart, without any question.
Do we want to touch on a few questions?
Yeah,
since you did
ahead.
Just mention Stranger Things, some people are asking how you got involved.
Well, I got in trouble. I went to a con, and people are so starved at the cons now because they haven't seen us in a year and a half, and there's all these new action figures of both of us, and tons of new poster art and design art made by the artists at the shows, that I was sort of overwhelmed, and I know you were too, Doug, by how many fans were there on the first day. Fridays generally the slow day, or it's just the really serious collectors. And I had probably a dozen people come up to me, and they knew more about Stranger Things than I did. So when I got around to my Q&A on Sunday, I spilled a couple of beans I wasn't allowed to spill, spoiler alert, yes. Robert Englund.
Well, but you had very excitedly told us at some point, but it was still under wraps. We didn't say anything. So.
Well, I could say this, that I'm in it. I'm in season 4. I'm in season 4, and it's the scary season. It's the horror season. Right. And I mean, I loved working with everybody, and I'm anxious to see it too. apparently there is a teaser out there now
Hmm.
that people
Yes.
can look at.
When is it
So
out?
I would send everybody to the
Next-
teaser
It's
because
out. So
I still have my lips zipped.
it's fully wrapped, I believe, isn't it? And
Well, I'll tell you,
out next
so
year.
many of those kids, Doug, and also David Harbour, have broken big. David Harbour in Black Widow, just wonderful and brilliant. And every time I keep seeing him in new stuff all the time. And the movie I was just discussing with you that I did with Sean Levy, Free Guy. The lead in that is one of the stars of Stranger Things. Millie Bobby Brown is out there with Godzilla and King Kong, and she has that delightful series Enola Holmes, where she plays Sherlock Holmes' young niece, and she's gifted with detective skills, and it's period, and she gets to talk to the camera and everything. So they're so busy that I think, on top of the fact of COVID and the pandemic, they are also having difficulties with the schedules of some of their stars. So all those things combined mean I don't think we're going to see season 4 till 2022.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That late?
Yeah, your flair for the dramatic. I forget which convention it was we were
It's
at.
a Mad Monster
Was
in
it Mad Monster?
2019. Or
You
no,
were-
very beginning of 2020, February of 2020.
We came into the bar and you were there, and you kind of you tugged on my sleeve, and you pulled me to one side. You said, I need to have a word with you.
This will only do it one more time.
I thought, oh my God, what terrible disease have you got? What's wrong with Nancy? And you said, I don't tell anyone, but I'm going to be in Stranger Things. I was like, okay, good, cool. But I understand that nobody else was allowed to hear that.
Yeah.
Well, it's all right.
I must admit,
there are spies within spies within spies,
Sure.
and
Yes.
you know that.
Yes.
And these days they have their phones running in
Yes,
their
they
pockets, and they're
Yes, they
recording
do.
you. We found
Well,
ourselves.
they also
I think
pay
it was
people.
at Monster Mania, standing in line at Starbucks to get a coffee in the hotel, and Steph realized that the people in line behind us were recording our conversation.
Well, it's also, Doug, when you guys fly, sometimes it's you'll come in late home, or you'll come in early to one of the cons. You'll fly in early, and they're there at the airport. They know
At the
that.
airport,
Yes.
And it's one thing when I see them in baggage claim. I kind of expect that, diligent fans, good for them. And I can tell the difference between the real fans and just the people that are going to immediately resell my stuff. And there's also occasionally people with really valuable things, and I want to tell them about that and sign that carefully, not get jostled. But when I'm coming from Europe and I land in Chicago in a terminal at O'Hare at 3 a.m, and the lights are dimmed down, and all the burger places and all the newsstands and the shoe shine parlor is all closed down, and I get off the plane and there are fans with a folded portable camping card table with giant, massive circus-size French
Convention set up for you.
of Nightmare on Elm Street Part 6. I mean, how do they get in? Post 9/11, I don't know how they do it.
And always that somebody within the convention has to have given them your flight schedule.
Or they buy it, because they have to get into that.
I even had here in Pittsburgh, I had somebody waiting for me with stuff to sign before I'd got on the plane to leave Pittsburgh, not arriving at the airport at the other end.
Creepy.
So they
Don't
do that, guys. Like they know they buy a ticket. I think they buy a ticket, a cheap ticket, an economy ticket, with a couple other guys from Harrisburg to Philadelphia, and then they all get in, and they just eat the ticket, and they harass you. Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't landside. They were up in the ticketing area.
Do you want to do another question?
Of course, anytime. Shout out.
Any contemporary horror directors that you would like to work with?
Well, I sure would like to work with Jordan Peele. Yeah, I think Jordan Peele is extraordinary, and I'm forgetting his name right now. He's an actor director, and I think he's out of Montreal. And I've seen him do some extraordinary work, and I think it would be fun if he turned to the dark side. I'm forgetting his name right now. He's just this wonderful talent that I've discovered recently. But I think Jordan Peele would be
Right.
at the top of my list right now.
My vote would always go to Guillermo, I think. First and foremost. And I've lost his name, but the guy who directed The Lighthouse and The Witch.
Ooh,
That's not Ari Aster, is it?
oh, I love The
Yeah.
Witch.
Is
Yeah.
that what his name?
Yes.
Okay, because
He
I think
directed-
somebody had asked
Who
what your
directed
opinion on him was.
Midsummer?
That's him, yeah, Ari Aster.
That's the
Somebody
same
was
one.
asking your
Yeah.
opinion on him, so
Yeah.
there's another question
And-
answered.
And, Guillermo, the thing I love so much about Guillermo is he always has a child in there somewhere.
Mm.
And the child is in jeopardy, and you emotionally you identify with that jeopardy, but also you start watching it like a child a little bit. You witness it, what's going on. Even as far back as Mimic and his earlier stuff. There's always a child in it. I also think his Pacific Rim is very underrated.
I agree. I like Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
Yes. And is it called Mummy? The remember the black ghost in the house?
Mother?
Is
that what it's called?
I think so.
Yeah.
There was
Yes.
Crimson Peak.
Crimson
Also?
Peak was really good. Yes. Yeah.
But he
I like
gets
that.
it. He gets the genre because he has a genuine love for it. I mean, if you've seen his house,
Steeped in it.
yeah,
Yes.
and he seems to do it justice every time he
Well, he also has wonderful little Easter eggs in his films, little homages, subtle homages. I know. Oh, I'm forgetting the one where she falls in love with the creature from the Black Lagoon, the sea creature.
Oh, Shape of
Shape
Water.
of Water.
Mhm.
Yes.
Shape of
Yeah.
Water, which is
I
one
was
of my favorite
leaping around
films
the living
because
room when they won the Oscar for that.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting it.
degree of difficulty on making that film and the minefield that film could have been, and how
especially
Guillermo
for the-
triumphed over stepping
especially
in the shit, But if you watch it closely, there's these little echoes to Rear Window, and there's little echoes to it's that wonderful film with the little boy and the Martians, in Invaders from Mars.
Ooh,
There's these little tiny echoes throughout, and I love finding those on my second or third viewing. I just think they're so fun.
And the degree of difficulty for an actor who's very much in our neck of the woods, the great Doug Jones, who I think doesn't get talked about often enough, and really should have been nominated for his performance in that movie.
absolutely.
I mean, to carry the makeup that we do, but full body, and be immersed in water to do it.
And
to
it's
convey
such a
emotion.
great physical performance in terms of body language. Not only the way he carries himself and moves, but the way he moves with other actors in the frame, is just amazing.
Yes. Yeah,
But
he
it's
does
also in the same what I consider the same exalted place as Doug, the wonderful actor Precious, from Lord of the Rings.
Andy Serkis.
Andy, who's
Yes.
directing now.
Yes.
God love him, and should be,
Yes.
because he's probably the only guy that can solve those certain kind of problems, and they have to go to him to direct now. But Andy Serkis and Doug Jones have really pushed the envelope for film work. It's a combination of dance and movement and creativity and inhabiting a combination of practical makeup effects as well as CGI, and they really know how to do. They're almost like painters.
And I was upset that Andy didn't get a nomination for Lord of the Rings, and I think it's, I think Ian McKellen won a BAFTA, but we do that because he's British. And they just give BAFTAs away if you're British, except to me so far, but it's time for that. But the actors in fantasy films and makeup roles do, I think, tend to get overlooked. And Andy was without question giving a groundbreaking performance that is going to be remembered in the annals of cinema.
Andy and Doug
Not,
both
not
are
just that he was doing a
yeah.
motion cap performance, you know, he was there on set acting the role, you know, normally as an actor, just in a funny suit with light bulbs of ping pong balls all over it, you know.
He does an extraordinary job in the Planet of the Apes too.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
just
And in
amazing stuff.
and in King Kong as well. Great performance, wonderful articulation of emotion with Kong in that movie.
Someone is actually, a few people have asked, why don't you guys do a film together? And you have done.
Well, we did do a film together. Robert mentioned
But we worked in Spain. Let's work in the south of France, Doug. Come on, you can figure.
Sure.
You can make that happen.
Yes. Are we going to talk about La Lingua Assassina?
Well, I would love to do another movie with you abroad, but we'll probably wind up in Bakersfield.
I've had an awful lot of fun at Q&As trying to outline the plot of Killer Tongue, and I get as far as the bank robbery, and and he's on the chain gang and I'm on the chain gang, and you're in charge of the chain gang as the chief screw, as I think your character was called. Meanwhile, his accomplice has become a nun and is in the nunnery, and she's got a collection of poodles, and they're all. Meanwhile, a meteor is coming down from space and burns up in the atmosphere. Bits of the meteor fly through the windows, land in their bowls of soup as she's sitting around the dinner table with her poodles, who all get transformed into drag queens.
Yes,
and that's the first 50.
Priscilla, minutes. Queen of the Alien. What? You know what I've always thought, and I thought it even at the time, Doug, because I was already a fan. But you should have played my role. I should have played your role in that. Think about it.
What in Killer Tongue?
In Killer Tongue, you would have been much better as the chief screw, as the warden. You know, because that great reveal. You know, Doug Bradley in an ill-fitting toupee. You know, and you're taller than I am, and I could see you in those Cool Hand Luke sunglasses, and then I could see Edward Tudorpole and I in bunk beds, you know, being ferrety, you know, prisoners together, you know, kind of like a Coen Brothers, you know, comedy team. It was always strange to me when after I was on the set for a couple of days. It's like I should be playing Doug's part, and Doug should be playing my part. But you know, by then, I think we were just sharing Spanish wine out of a bota bag.
I think, well,
you were seeking out English ale somewhere in the cobblestone side streets of Almeria.
And you constantly trying to explain to people who I was, because you were recognized everywhere you went. As much for V as for Freddy. And I was flying under the radar, and I think you were a bit pissed off that I was managing to maintain my anonymity. I remember you trying to explain to people in Spanish that I was, you know.
Yes. ¿Cómo se dice? Pinhead, la cabeza, pen, la pluma cabeza.
And you remember that extraordinary nightclub that we all of us together went to in Madrid? It was like this kind of big half-ruined mansion, and there was a pool room, there was a disco room, but there was also a room that was filled with middle-aged couples dancing the salsa, and it was like like a nightclub warehouse, department store, all these things under one roof. And I remember at one point you coming back in. I think we stayed in the pool room for most of the time, playing pool. You came back in and you said, "I'm going back to the hotel. Somebody in the men's room had just asked you to sign a napkin." You decided it was time to make your excuses and leave.
Yes, you know, bathroom recognition is never one you're comfortable with.
I think it was Paul Newman, wasn't it, who said that was the point at which he decided no more autographs, when he was at the stall with his hands full. Yeah, somebody asked him, "Would you sign this, Mr. Newman?"
I don't like being chased in the stall, and I don't like when people bring children up to me in bars. You know, I
Oh.
always don't like
What
that.
they're doing in bars in the
Well,
first
yes.
place.
You know what I remember though? One of my
They
great
want you to do with
regrets
their
about
children.
Spain was we were driving back from location one night, and we were really deep in that spaghetti western countryside from 100 spaghetti westerns. And my driver kept telling me where Clint Eastwood jogged, and Clint Eastwood took a leak over there, and Clint Eastwood took a dump over there, and we're driving down dirt
Like
road.
George Washington.
And these guys were all so happy, you know, to be sort of reactivated again after the golden age of Almeria. And we're on this like 1-lane road, single track, out in the countryside, bumping along. And there was this old time Spanish European circus on the side of the road.
Yes.
I think you were in the car with us, Doug, and
I-
Nancy and I, and we couldn't, you know,
was-
we were all
it was like-
starving. We were starving. We all wanted a cocktail, and we were sort of like, we couldn't commit to going to it, but it had those old canvas sides with the old-fashioned drawings of the bearded lady and the sword swallower on them, and you could
loomed
see
up
the
on us.
light.
It was like something out of a Fellini movie, was it not?
Yes, it was amazing.
Yeah.
And I, to this day, I regret you and I and Jason Dewar and Melinda not going in there, you know, and finding a
Right.
cold beer somewhere and just
Get
seeing
some
that,
bread and
because
cheese.
it was something
Yeah.
out of time. That was a moment out of time.
I went to one such circus in the holidaying in the southwest of France in the Languedoc, and this circus rolled into town, and it was just one small tent, and there was a llama tied up outside the tent.
See the exotic llama.
Yeah, basically that, and we went to it, and it was wonderful. It was hilarious, but it was, you know, the guy selling the tickets was the clown, and you know, the woman selling the chocolates at the interval was the trapeze artist.
Probably the same family, you know, probably a
Probably.
small family
Yeah.
circus.
Like the Fratelli brothers.
I must
Yes.
get this in very quickly because this person has been very adamant
Okay.
that I tell you, Daddy Games is his name, that you are the reason he went to film school. So there,
There you go.
I told
Well,
him. There
to
you
learn
go.
to learn how it should be done.
I
Lots
know
of people
Doug and I get asked a lot about, you know, how to break in the business or any tips. And one of the things that I know is there's a lot of film schools now in the States that are in smaller colleges.
Mhm.
And I think a trick to do is to find one that has some money in their film and theater arts department, and they have a lot of equipment.
Mm.
Because if you're 18, 19, 20 years old and you're in a small college, but they have a half a dozen cameras, you know, and tons of lighting equipment and sound equipment, and you can start working in ensemble work with other people. You know, you edit one movie, you shoot one movie, you direct one movie, you star in one movie, you write one movie, but you're working back and forth with the same group of students. You form your own little ensemble, and
Right.
you can go through a good portion of your life with those people, because they will all hear of films and apprentice jobs and internships as well as you, but you will have had all that experience using that equipment. And there's so many people want to go to the big schools, you know, UCLA or SC or American Film Institute or the North Carolina School of Performing Arts or some of the big film schools, when there's plenty of smaller
Right.
you know, institutions that have film schools, and the access to the equipment is a lot easier than when
Sure.
you're at those, you know, sort of big league schools.
What are some of your favorite horror movies?
Oh gosh, you know, this is ever changing with me. You know, because I'm an old fart, so I have to go
I
back.
think we share a favorite in common. In
Well,
fact,
we have to go back, because when Doug and I were children, and when Doug and I were in early adolescence,
many centuries
films
ago.
that we
boys and girls.
experienced, they affected us differently. We were less wise to how they were doing stuff, and we surrendered more. So I have great memories of Forbidden Planet as a child at the Saturday matinee. And I have great memories of 20,000 Leagues Under Sea with James Mason and Peter Lorre. and Kirk Douglas, and just terrific special effects for the time. The giant squid pulling that one sailor down through the hatch with the giant sucker marks all over him, just, I mean, I peed my pants and had to go get another, box of popcorn after that. But so those are like
Is that what
really
you do when you pee your
early,
pants? Get another
early
box of popcorn?
Pardon?
Is that what you do when you pee your pants?
Well, I just
Quick,
sort of,
get more popcorn.
I think that was my excuse to go to the bathroom and shake down. But, stick some paper towels down there so my Levi's wouldn't be stained. But
I've heard you before instance what is my favorite horror movie, not the scariest by any means, but certainly my favorite, which is Bride of Frankenstein.
I love The Bride of Frankenstein, and it goes into a great Robert Englund, Freddy Krueger, early Hollywood story. I was doing an industrial film and it was taken out by my cameraman, who was in fact the paparazzi that shot the famous photos on the set of Cleopatra with Burton and Taylor. And got so much money out of that he became a DP in Hollywood, but also he was sort of set for life, I think. So he took me out for a great, 3-martini lunch after we shot this industrial for Vincent Bugliosi, the guy who was doing the Charlie Manson case. And we had this great 3-martini lunch at Musso Frank's, the famous old restaurant on Hollywood Boulevard, where the cowboy stars from the silent movies literally would tie their horses up outside and go in and have a cocktail with Charlie Chaplin. And my first time there in the main dining room, I sat and I looked at the expression on my cameraman's face, and I turned to look over my shoulder, and there was the Bride of Frankenstein, Elsa Lancaster, and her entire entourage of young men.
Nice.
So I was back to back, Freddy Krueger and the Bride of Frankenstein. We'll have lunch. We'll do lunch.
One degree of separation.
But I love that movie. But I also love, and this would be, I think it's 1961, Deborah Carr, The Innocents.
Oh, God.
Sir Michael Redgrave.
What a movie.
Children, Pamela Franklin,
a movie.
and I can't think of who played the boy, but that's just an amazing
Martin
Turn of the Screw.
Martin Stevens.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think.
Turn of the
Who's
Screw.
also in the Midwich Cuckoos, but what?
And you know what really holds up to is Rosemary's Baby on a lot of levels, and not the least of which is Mia Farrow's performance. But on closer examination, John Cassavetes is amazing in that film too. Because of course, like Jack Nicholson in The Shining, he's tainted very early on,
Well, yes, as all good heroes should be. Something Hitchcock knew. He always went out of his way. Psycho is the great example. His first mission statement in the movie is to tell us that Vivian Lee's character is Janet Leigh's character is severely morally compromised, and now here's the story.
But also he really butts up. He really backs sex and violence up against each other in that film. To this day, that the love scene in her underwear with John Gavin and Janet Leigh is an amazingly sexy scene, and because it's black and white, it just seems a little dirtier, for some reason, because I don't think we'd ever seen anything in black and white quite that sexual before, especially with Bernard Herrmann playing in the background and the underpinnings of what we knew, the horror that was coming.
Yes, and shocking for its time too.
I saw it at the drive-in movie.
Scene like that.
I saw it at the drive-in movie with my parents.
Brilliant. Get
out. And
I
remember being in the back seat with a takeout delicatessen sandwich. And my mother and father had taken, the neighborhood kids. I don't think they knew what they were getting into. It was just the closest drive-in, and the kids all wanted to go to the drive-in. And so they went to this really wonderful old Jewish delicatessen near our house and bought tons of sandwiches for their kids. And we all put the station wagon in backwards. And we all sat in the back against rolled up sleeping bags with the tailgate down. I don't think my mother and father had any idea. I think it was just one of those things where they just went to the local drive-in because it was their turn to like take all the kids.
Yeah.
We were all there full of chlorinated swimming pool hair, our hair.
And what
turning
was your
green.
reaction? And what was your parents' reaction?
Well, my mother loved it. My mother sat in the front seat with her lipstick stained Benson and Hedges cigarette. I think they'd smuggled some Beefeater martinis in a thermos, no fools they. And, but I mean, it was just a bunch of us and they just didn't, you have to remember, I don't think there were ratings back then. And so a lot of times you would see kids when they knew kiddie matinees were for kids, but kids would go to evening movies all the time.
Yeah, we had X. X was the big any movie with an X on it, X rated, meant this is the good stuff.
Yeah, there was home censorship. The whole story about Wes Craven is he was only allowed, I think, like one Disney movie a year. His parents were very strict.
Really?
And because Wes was always discovering stuff that you and I know about, that we experienced as young men and as children. Wes was always sort of playing catch up a bit because his parents were so strict. And he sort of reveled in discovering certain rock and roll that he'd missed and certain movies that he'd missed over the years before he became a serious film student.
Brilliant. No. Any further questions? Because we're
going to wrap, I guess, with Robert. I mean, we'll still stick around and if anyone cares about us, but maybe not.
Time for one more.
I think what has been your favorite part of playing such an iconic character? What has it brought into your life, do you feel?
I think, I have these experiences with fans that are very good, and that is and it's just nothing it's just a strange thing of being a video star as well as a movie star, a genre star. And the fact that I was in with a X-rated, a hard R horror movie, and I did 8 of them, that they were in, a lot of those went home with families to be watched at home in the dark, in front of the fireplace with, a takeout pizza on the coffee table and some beers and some soft drinks. But I have had this sort of last 20 years, those original video experiencers have come to me now. Many of them, their parents are gone now, but they have these fond memories of sharing that wonderful, imaginative, horror, thrilling experience with mom and dad, and laughing and loving mom and dad being scared, and mom and dad taping steak knives to his fingers in the shadow on the wall, or scratching on the window outside.
Brilliant.
So there's all of that, which is a kind of a new perception for me.
Yeah,
and then the other one
I think it's a long conversation, which I hope maybe we'll have again another day.
Well, but I can say this really quickly just to finish that question. The other thing is, and Doug knows this too, is that Doug and I are international actors. We work all over the world, and for me, it's because of the success of both V and Freddy back to back,
right?
Because fantasy and horror and science fiction, they speak the language of cinema. And they travel better than comedy and rom-com.
Yes.
And so we are sort of bequeathed that gift of being international actors, which is great fun. I'm going to be shooting something in Europe next year, and I'm looking forward to it. And I just love that. It's just something I never counted on. I'd see it in old Kirk Douglas movies, with Lana Turner, 2 weeks in another town, or things like that, and always kind of dreamt about it, but I never expected it. But as Doug knows from our one experience in Spain, it's just a real gift and a real bonus, and it's just really fun.
It's ironic, after you mentioned the Still CityCon, you'd been offered a movie in Serbia. I was offered 2 days on a movie in Serbia, playing a pathologist, which I couldn't do. Because of the
well, I wanted to. It was my dear friend Loris Curci, the Italian producer, and I wound up getting to do some voiceover work on it. But it was just too close to the depths of the pandemic.
Sure.
Serbia,
Sure.
and it was one of those things where I got the offer too late. If I had more time to plan, I probably could have gone over there and quarantined and everything. But it was just a little too much.
Mr. Englund, sir, I think first pitch is upon us. So
All right.
We must let you go. Thank you.
Take me out to the old ball game.
Thank
Doug,
you.
it was great chatting with you. It was great chatting with you guys.
I hope we can do this again, maybe.
And I love the bomb shelter, Doug. I'm teasing you. A little more lying, darling. Okay. Bye-bye, you guys.
Thank you very much.
See you. Have a good night.
See you later.
Go Dodgers.
Nance.
Switch him off before he says something he'll regret.
Hi, Nancy.
Oh no. Look, Doug. This is how Doug came to dinner when he was a kid.
Hi, Nancy.
Hey, Ma. Hey, Pop.
Exactly. It was. Thank you for being the intermediary in all this,
Yes.
Nancy.
My pleasure.
Bye-bye.
See you eventually.
Stop.
Yeah, so
There you go.
Okay.
Doug and Steph. Wow.
Yes. Are we here?
Yeah, you guys are here. I just had to switch
Okay.
screens.
Okay, and everybody's still in chat and we're still going, right?
Yeah, so you
Okay.
guys just missed something very interesting.
Oh
Okay.
shit. Is that bad?
Somebody just gifted 80 subs to the
Oh,
stream.
shit. Who was that? So we
Um,
can thank them properly.
It was Koala JRP.
Koala JRP.
Koala
Well, thank you,
JLP.
Koala.
That's
That's a
quite
hell of a
handle.
thing.
Thank you.
Do we
Thank you,
have
thank
fun
you.
things to give people or what?
Yeah, Josh is giving away some NFTs.
NFTs.
Koala is one of the winners of this little
Guess tokens.
biddy right here. Oh, ignore that screen.
Josh is giving. I thought he was giving away a gift card. He's giving away NFTs. He does NFTs.
Oh, yeah.
Koala and Never
Yeah,
Ends.
Koala,
You
that's
win
a
this
good one.
coffee right here.
Oh, is that what they?
Ah,
I
cool.
did- I
The
did- I
Robert
thought-
England coffee.
Yes.
Ah,
Yes, you voiced
I've
Josh's
got,
NFTs and you
I've
didn't even know it.
no, I didn't. I thought it was just voiceover for a kind of virtual gallery thing. He never told me whether he thought I was brilliant or sucked. He hasn't paid me yet either.
Yes, he has. The root beer's upstairs.
We paid you in root beer.
Yeah.
He
saw
hasn't
it.
paid my part.
And then here's some NFTs that some people
Anyway,
are winning
anyway.
The
tonight.
root beer, by the way, ladies and gentlemen,
Parlor.
is outstanding. And I'm not a big fan of
Parlor root
of
beer.
root beer, but it is excellent. So this is the coffee. I have some samples on the way to me from Sled Coffee. I'm going to have a coffee too.
Everybody in chat, I'm real sorry I couldn't take more questions. The chat was moving very, 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 very quickly. A lot of the questions were regarding things we touched on at the beginning, remakes and Dead by Daylight things.
I wasn't
and
going to
we'll
take
talk
up
about
Robert's
that
time.
all another time. But I tried, but I think listening to Doug and Robert have a sort of a free flow conversation was a bit of a gift in and of itself anyway. So
Well, between him and me, answers don't
Yeah.
tend to be brief either.
Yeah,
So,
but I don't think anybody would complain about that, right?
if anybody's got any questions for me,
Now's the time for that.
yeah, we will still be here. We're not.
Oh, is there a slow mode for
running
chat?
away.
Well, we're not used to having this many people in chat. That's the thing, because
Yeah, there's 250 people in here right now.
shit.
Wow.
Okay.
So if people have questions for
So
me, fire away.
So it's not even about us. It's about Robert.
It's all
Yes,
about
Dime,
We're
you
all
won.
here.
Yeah, they'll all
See
leave
if
now.
y'all
We
stick
watch
around
this.
now.
250 will go down to 25 in the next 10 minutes.
A part two? Yeah, we'll probably have a part two to that.
I hope so. I
Yeah.
hope so. And I'll be careful not to schedule it in the postseason next time.
Yes.
Uh,
Who's his
uh,
team?
the Dodgers.
Dodgers.
Okay.
He's a huge baseball fan.
Yeah.
And of course, it's game 5.
Yeah, good.
I know I'm treating myself to Taco Bell tonight.
You are?
I have to.
What
I
is
forgot
that?
to eat yesterday.
I just
I have
finished
that problem.
Squid Game, by the way, David, which
Yeah?
I think was mentioned last week. I think you mentioned it, didn't you?
Yeah, it was that was a show.
Yes.
That was something
I didn't
interesting.
watch it.
Yes.
My daughter was very traumatized by
yes.
it, and it sounded like lots of
The
gratuitous.
the
shooting of
Thai
people.
movie that I was trying to remember is called 13 Game of Death. And it's also called 13 Beloved, I think. And that has quite a lot of elements in common with it. It's difficult to talk about it without and avoid spoiler alerts, but the surprise ending before the final ending, which may or may not set it up for a sequel, with somebody in a hospital bed, I wasn't quite so sure about. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yes. Right. And now I'm watching Midnight Mass, which was
Oh
also
yeah.
recommended on the chat.
Netflix is doing some good things.
Yeah, I did not like The Haunting.
The Haunting of Hill House.
I
Is that
think
what
it was just
was?
called The
Or
Haunting.
or was
Yeah.
there like there was like 3 shows in the last year that I think have been called Haunting.
And then there was The Haunting of Bly Manor. So he was basically, I think, trying to do the American haunting thing, like the American crime thing. Haunting at Bly Manor, which was really which is adaptation of The Turn of the Screw. And I went to it preparing to hate it for reasons that came up in conversation with Robert, which is The Innocents that Robert mentioned, which is also based on The Turn of the Screw and is one of my all-time favorite movies, in or out of the horror genre. I think it's a brilliant film. And I did not hate The Haunting of Bly Manor. I was in and out with it, which I am a little bit with Midnight Mass. I think I'm in episode 4. I'll say it's taking its time.
Yeah, it's a slow burn for sure.
Yeah. And there were a couple of times where I'd want to just, reach over with a pointed stick and poke him in the ribs and tell him to get on with it.
Are we planning to go to any of the
interesting.
ghost shows on this tour?
They're coming to Pittsburgh on Valentine's Day.
That is the plan.
So we would certainly want to.
If, viruses are no longer a threat.
Viruses
Sure.
permitting. There's so many people coming into town at the moment, into Pittsburgh, that I want to see, but I don't feel now is the time to be at gigs.
Going anywhere. We could talk about where we were yesterday, but not
I think
why.
things may be getting better.
Can we do that?
Doing what?
We can talk about where we were yesterday, but
We
we can't talk
can.
about why. We can't talk about why.
We should send David the video.
No, you're
No?
not playing that.
You can't?
I do not wish for it to be seen. No.
No, me at the
at the sewing machine?
Go on.
Well, no.
You can't do that?
No, not right now. No.
Okay.
We
All right.
have obligations.
Well, yesterday I did a podcast interview. What's the name of the podcast?
I just said
we can't
you
talk
cannot
about
talk about that.
Oh.
You can talk about. We can talk about where we went, but we
Okay.
can't talk about why.
Okay. Well, I won't tell you what the podcast was.
No.
Because it doesn't narrow the field really.
No, it does
'Cause
not.
The world and his wife, including me now.
Yeah. Is
have
this a podcast? Is this a podcast?
It's a live stream
I don't know.
Twitch show, like George Nori talking about his television
Nobody
show.
knows who that is.
No.
Anyway.
Well, I bet they do. Coast to coast.
We
AM.
went to the Buffalo
No,
Bill House
we did.
yesterday.
Ooh.
We did, which is only about 40 minutes drive away from here. It went up on the market and it got bought, and it's got bought by a wonderful guy called Chris. What's his second name?
Chris Rowan.
Chris Rowan. And what he's
Who
basically
works in the
doing-
movie industry.
Works in the movie industry, and he is basically preserving the house partly as a living museum to the Silence of the Lambs, but also as it's a beautiful house in its own right. Leave all the Silence of the Lambs stuff out. Just being able to walk around it is great. But it's like a B&B, so you can, and when you book in, if there's only one of you, 2 of you, or up to I think a maximum of 8, you have the house to yourself. So if there's just
no one else there,
if you just go as a couple, you can go and tuck to your heart's content down in the basement with Bill's kimono on. You have the whole house to yourself, and there is nobody else there.
No.
It's fully self-catering, but there isn't, there's no housekeeper on site, and he's only been open to paying guests for
I think a month.
A month,
No?
yes. Is there a link? Can we?
Search
the link?
Buffalo Bill's
Yeah,
house. There's
you'll
a
find it.
ton of
Yes.
press on it.
Yeah, and
Don't mention who's going to be there tomorrow. I know that's probably about to
no,
come out of your
no.
mouth, but don't
No,
say
I
anything.
wasn't- Jesus Christ.
Well, I know you.
You do?
I
I
do.
wasn't going to say anything.
Oh, okay.
But they've done.
Ruh-roh.
They are doing a superb job
It's
with
wonderful.
it. It really is great.
Someone asked, who's this? This moves too quickly. Whimsy Dearest. That's a good name. Did you quote The Silence of the Lambs while you were there?
A lot.
We did more than that.
They've set up a little thing down in the basement. Are we
Yes.
allowed to say
It wasn't
that?
just that.
Yeah, which
Oh,
is
yeah, sure.
they've recreated some of the bits that, of course, you don't see. Were not filmed in the house. Were filmed in the studio. There is an old coal cellar there, and they are working on plans rather exciting to create a well, partly real and partly virtual. They are already marketing the fucking lotion,
which smells really nice. It's a really nice lotion.
but they have set up Buffalo Bill's work area, complete with mannequins and with what his name's head in the
Benjamin Raspel. Benjamin Raspel's head in the jar. Yeah.
You have to bear in mind, boys and girls, that The Silence of the Lambs is not only Steph's favorite horror movie, it's one of her favorite movies, period.
Yes.
And she's seen it probably 150 times, and she knows
at least word for word,
back to front and inside out. So yes, we were, and you can sit at the sewing machine in the kimono, and you can play Goodbye Horses while you do it.
We did the door. We did pictures by the door.
And you did the
I did
the business card spin.
The business card spin around the kitchen doorway. Yes.
And
which I must go back and redo because I spun the wrong way, and I'm very upset with myself.
And I did my best Lecter impersonation.
You did your best Lecter impersonation. Yeah. Yes.
Let's hear it.
Go on.
I'm offering you a psychological profile of Buffalo Bill based on the case evidence. I'll help you find him, Clarice.
See, everybody thinks that I was a Pinhead fan or a Hellraiser fan when I met Doug, and neither of which were true.
Never seen the film.
Never seen the films.
Blue Lightning.
Blue Lightning. But I won't give any more detail about the night we met. But I will say he did a Hopkins impression.
I did.
And that was kind of it for me, I
Oh,
think.
really?
Yeah.
No. That's the only reason I'm here, folks.
Yes.
Was that the line I did?
No, I think you were just you did. I don't think it was
Oh.
Hannibal in particular. It was just you were just speaking like an angry Welshman.
Tony Hopkins.
Yes.
With his beautiful voice, and what he does is he does a
Don't
strange
yell.
thing where he ignores the punctuation at the end of a sentence and runs immediately into the middle of the next one, when he will suddenly, for no apparent reason, pause in the middle of a sentence before carrying on, and then suddenly, after talking like this for a while, then suddenly he'll start to shout, "Sir! No, sir! I said no, sir! We will not do this, sir!" And then he'll talk like this
Very
again.
quietly again.
He's a
yes.
brilliant, beyond brilliant actor.
Yes. I concur.
But it's it really is a wonderful place, and they're doing a
Just
fantastic
the whole
thing
property.
with
The
it.
whole
It's
property
great.
is
It's
wonderful. Very rural. Train tracks,
Just
river.
House, yard, train track, another house, river. The Yochagani.
Yockagani. We just say Yockagani. We don't say Yockagani.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yockagani.
Yochagani.
Yockagani.
Yochagani.
That's good.
I should know by now. Lived here long enough.
Yes.
Too many rivers, too many bridges.
A lot of them.
So we
Is it 460 bridges or something?
oh, it's a ridiculous
It,
amount.
it's just, it doesn't even like make sense. Like I was in an Uber back in 2016. It was like right after I moved there. And then this driver was like telling me the history of Pittsburgh. And then he's mentioning how many bridges were in the city as we're going over like 3 bridges in a row.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, so you're not joking, because we just did
Oh,
3 in
no,
about 2 minutes.
There are
And we're now going to
hundreds.
drive over all of them. Has anyone ever done that?
Oh, I'm sure there's some.
Driven
There,
over.
yeah, there's gotta be
Yeah.
like, I'm going to
Yeah.
Google.
Yeah.
But
But-
and the thing I always say between the rivers and the bridges, and it's such a very hilly terrain. So nothing about the road layout in Pittsburgh is straightforward.
No,
And in the
it's
days
very
before
terrifying.
GPS, how the fuck anybody who wasn't born here and didn't know their way around?
I was born here and I still
and you
don't
still
know
don't
my
know
way
your way around. No, this is true. I mean, it would be absolutely impossible. Even with GPS, I've got lost.
Yeah, that happens all the time. I'm very proud of myself when I managed to make my way out. What is going on here? What are we doing?
So there's actually, well, if YouTube wouldn't give me 2 back-to-back ads. So apparently in 2021, this person, it was a 6-minute video, but they drove over every bridge.
Really?
Really?
How long did that take?
To view this ride at 4 times speed, there's another video. Like,
So this is
Oh
speeded
my
up.
goodness.
This is like
He
they
did
used
it
to-
all in one day?
let's check the speeded up version. Okay, this one's 1 minute and 50 seconds.
Oh, brilliant! It's like there used to be a film of London to Brighton in 30 seconds,
Hmm.
which is like a 1-hour train journey, which you do in. So this is every bridge in a minute and something.
Like,
Mm.
I've been bored, but I don't think I've been that bored. Like, how do you like
I just don't know
figure
how-
that? Like, how do you map that? Is what I want to know, because I'm sure that you've got to be missing like one random bridge.
So
Yeah.
complicated. We were watching
Crazy.
a series once about urban explorers,
Oh yeah.
and there was
yeah.
a guy who was part of that team, and he clearly was on the spectrum, Asperger's, I think, and a little bit OCD. And in when he was talking to camera, he said that his ambition in life was to be in charge of Pittsburgh's road system, because apparently it is considered the most complicated in the world.
Has to be.
Yeah.
And
That was his
as
thing.
Steph always says, it consists of road signs that basically say, there are 4 lanes of traffic here. You're in the 4th lane, and you need to be in the 1st lane to make the exit you need, and you
Yeah,
have
it's-
50 yards to do it in. Good luck.
Yeah.
Even with all like the one ways like downtown, you'll be going down a one-way street, then a one-way street, and then you think logically there's another one-way street, and they're like, nope, can't go that way, left turn
Yes.
only, back down a one-way.
Or to vaguely think, well, if I go that way, I'm going in the right direction because I want to end up over there, right? Nope. You do
Yeah.
that, you'll end up going in exactly the
I'm like,
opposite
how the
direction.
fuck did I get here? I needed to be over there.
I think the whole place is cursed. It
Yeah.
doesn't obey natural
Yeah.
geographical rules.
Yeah, it's driving there is just like a nightmare. Even like going to the convention, like Josh and I were downtown, like at that the Airbnb, and then like just even trying to turn into that back parking lot was a nightmare.
Yeah.
It says- Ugh.
I start sweating as soon as I know I have to drive downtown. So it's not pleasant for me at all.
Well, I have, and luckily downtown isn't big. I have one parking lot
That you frequent.
multi-story
Yes.
that I head for, and it's never full. I park and get out and walk to wherever I'm going. I like walking through cities as well.
No, ours isn't much of one. It's not very big at all.
I do enjoy a nice stroll.
It's a nice downtown.
Yes,
Pittsburgh.
we do plan on having Kane at some point.
Yes, Kane has said he has been approached Ed and has said, Yeah. So basically, I think we can say this, can't we? Next week will be an open forum show. The weekend
Are we
after that,
is our guest confirmed for the
for the
the
28th.
28th? Do we know? David.
Who's supposed to be our guest?
Oh,
Well,
okay.
I mean,
Well, it
look,
was an either or between today and then. But if
he is a confirmed guest. We just don't have a confirmed date yet. So
That's-
Steve Gonzalez from Ghost something.
Ghost
He looks
Hunters,
for
is it?
ghosts. That's all you need to know.
one of them ghost searchers.
Ghost
He-
Nation guy. Yeah,
Ghost
yeah.
Nation.
Ghost
Ghost
Nation,
Nation.
yes.
So Steve will be on the show.
We hope he
soon.
will be on the 28th of October, which will be
Yes.
entirely appropriate 3 days before Halloween to have a ghost hunter on. So we're hoping for that. And I think we can also.
Taps, yes.
uh,
No,
I remember buying those DVD sets from
no,
Target.
not yet.
no, not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
We do have some
Yeah,
cool
so
ones in the
Kane-
works.
Kane has indicated that he would like to do the
Yeah.
show. I just need to.
And we're talking
nail
to
down a
some
date.
other people about other dates, and yeah, maybe Tony Todd one day. I would think of
For
Tony,
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. No,
He's an
I have.
interesting guy, intelligent guy.
And
Yeah.
Clive Barker in common.
Yes. Yes. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, Steve. That's where I went my first ghost hunting experience with Steve and those guys.
Trans-Allegheny, yes.
Trans-Allegheny
yes.
Lunatic Asylum in 2008. So I definitely have to talk to him about that. But
Yep.
yeah, so hopefully right before Halloween.
Spooky
Barbara
season.
Crampton, that's an idea. Yeah.
Decrypt Access, yes. Every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern time, there is a stream. And if there is not, you will be notified a couple days before via the interwebs.
And sometimes we don't know what we're doing beforehand.
And all the shows are available subsequently. to
Yeah, if you
access.
subscribe, you can watch the replays. And am I correct in saying it's not a reoccurring payment? It's just you can go month by month, right?
Correct. Yeah, you can
Correct.
set it up on
Yeah.
auto. You can do it for a
Yeah.
month. If you have Amazon Prime, you can use your Bezos bucks
Right.
and send and use that. I guess it's also funding his giant penis rocket that keeps going to
Right.
space.
Yeah. Gotta keep that up there.
William
right?
Shatner, just the oldest person in space.
Wow, that was
That
something,
doesn't
wasn't it?
count.
There's
though.
a rumor going around, and I would like to see if this can be addressed. That William Shatner has never once had plastic surgery.
How can that be?
Oh, well, why not?
There, I don't know. There's a lot of articles.
Saying that he hasn't, or that he
That he
has?
hasn't.
He hasn't.
He's like
I could
90
believe
He is like 90, 91.
Exactly 90.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Crazy.
Looks very, very tight.
Well, I think he's well padded these days.
True. That could be playing into it.
I thought it was funny how they were like, yeah, it was his first time in space, and everyone's like, haha, but it wasn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Wink.
Yes. Wink,
Yeah.
wink.
To boldly go where quite a lot of people have been before.
Yes. Opinion of the movie Phantasm. Have you ever seen Phantasm?
Which one's
ball.
Phantasm? Oh God, yes. Angus Scrimm.
He was cool.
Lovely man. Lovely man.
I don't even remember much about Phantasm, to be honest.
It's a long time since I
Yeah.
saw it, and I don't think I saw any. I remember enjoying it. I can't really say more than that.
No.
And what's his name? Who I got to know.
Oh,
pretty well,
Reggie.
and
Mhm,
Reggie Bannister, bless him, and his missus.
Yes.
So yes, I had a fan experience at this was at Spooky World, which was the Halloween theme park that Kane and I used to go to regularly. This would be in the early 90s, I think. Like I always remember a guy came up and he was, oh my God, Mr. Bradley, oh my God, oh, I'm so excited to meet you. Well, I'd say, thank you. It's great to meet you. Thank you for coming. I loved your movie. Well, thank you very much. You know the bit I liked the best? No, what was that? You know the bit where you were they were chasing you and the ball, the silver ball with the. I'm like, what is he talking about? This is not in Hellraiser. And then I realized that he's talking about Phantasm. And I tried to explain to him that this was not Hellraiser he was talking about, but he wouldn't have it. He was absolutely, and he went into great detail describing scenes from Phantasm
That didn't exist.
swearing. No, they existed.
But with you
They
in it,
absolutely
right? Oh,
existed.
God.
But somehow these scenes now took place in Hellraiser. Maybe he's in the chat listening.
No, maybe.
It was a long time ago, 30 years ago. Jesus. But yeah, so he was describing actual scenes from Phantasm and swearing blind that they were in Hellraiser. But I did like the movie.
It's like the person who wanted you to sign their Jaws DVD.
Copy of Jaws. We think that was a setup. Put a copy of the Jaws DVD on my table. Would you sign that? And I said, well, I'd be more than happy to. I will charge you for it, but you are aware that I wasn't in this film. She said, no, but you directed it, right? I said, no, I think you'll find that was a fella called Steven Spielberg. No,
I see the resemblance.
I had nothing to do with this film. Did you want me to sign it anyway?
I don't remember.
We think her boyfriend had set her up.
Sent her in the
put the DVD in her hands.
Make an ass out of herself. I don't know.
The director of Jaws is at the table over there. Ask him to sign my DVD for me.
Phantasm is why I'm in the funeral business.
Oh wow!
The person with the handle of the Mortician 1. That's cool.
Love that.
Cassandra would be good to have. Yes, can do that perhaps.
We have discussed that.
Yes.
Yes, we are friends.
Yes. This chat just is scrolling much too quickly.
Yeah, I can't even keep up with it right now.
What's your Taco Bell order tonight, David?
It's gonna go one of two ways. I mean, it's either I'm gonna go and just make an absolute fool out of myself and act like I'm ordering for like a group of people, or I'm just gonna get like 2 quesadillas.
Right.
Okay.
We'll see when I get there.
Well, it's not like people mock you if you go through and order a ton of food, right?
Well,
at least not to your face.
It gets bad when they're like, "Oh, good to see you again." You know, like that's when I know I have to like take a pause for a while.
Like
I've been on a McChicken kick lately.
It's poker night. The guy's around. I've been sent out to get food for everyone.
That's like the time when I've been to Burger King like twice in one day, and I kind of try to like hide my face a little bit.
I actually have to vent about something I'm a little disappointed on. So on my road, there's 2 McDonald's, and I was feeling like adventurous, and I went to the one that I've never been to before.
Oh.
So I've been either getting like 2 or 3 plain McChickens and a medium order of fries, and I get hot mustard, right? So I go to the one closest to my house, and they give me like 5 hot mustards. Life is good. Right. I decide to go to this next one, and they're like, I order 3 McChickens and an order of fries. They're like, we can only give you 1 hot mustard. And then they had the nerve to follow it up with, if you want more, you can pay for them. I'm like, listen, babe, I'm made of money here. I need my hot mustard. Like,
I'll pay for it. I'll pay for it.
I was like, I remember when I was a kid so vividly going to the mall, and when they had McDonald's in the malls, and you would order like a 10-piece nugget and, you know, a fry or whatever, and they would say, what kind of sauce do you want? You would tell them. They would just take like the box and just dump it on the tray.
Yeah.
But now they're like, oh, that'll be 15 cents.
Oh God.
Listen here, McDonald's.
Did you ever try to get the chili sauce at Wendy's?
No, I actually haven't.
You know about the chili sauce at Wendy's?
Did not.
See, not a lot of people do. Ask for the chili sauce at Wendy's.
Is this like a secret menu item?
Well, I mean, they certainly don't advertise it, but it's like this very runny. It used to come in gold foil packets.
You need to know the passcode, Dave.
Yeah, but
a
It's
bad
very
memory.
good on their fries. It's very good on their burgers. I mean, I think it's basically like an additive for their chili.
Oh, okay, so it's like interesting. Okay.
Yes, but it's a very nice hot sauce. But man, they treat it like they're giving away bars of gold or something.
And
Like
while
you
Doug
ask
sits
for it.
back, it's now our next segment. Steph and David talk about fast
Talk
food.
about fast food. Yes.
I never talked about listened to so many conversations about fast food
Yes.
as since I fell in with you
Since you
nefarious
became
horror
an American.
hub.
Any good sheet stories
No.
lately?
Well, now you've done all this because we don't have a Taco Bell
No.
near us, and the Burger King closes early, and thank Christ we don't have a McDonald's close. So my only question
I
to
wouldn't
you,
go. I hate
David, is
McDonald's.
why the hell are you going to McDonald's in the first place?
Yeah.
I
McDonald's
may
is
be driven to
nasty.
Sheets.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Over and
here's my
above.
problem is I like in the middle of the night, I'm kind of tired, I'm worn out after work, like I'll go like I have like a 5-minute driving minimum, which limits me to 3 places. Because KFC closes early. So it's Taco Bell, McDonald's, and Arby's. And I would not be caught dead eating Arby's. Like if that was the last meal on earth, I'd kill myself.
Why?
Well, but
We
Nope.
have the meats.
They have awful food.
do they?
I got into an argument with people at work because they were like, yeah, when you're drunk, and I don't drink, but they're like, yeah, when you're drunk at night, where do you go get food? And the first answer is Taco Bell. And then 3 people in a row said Arby's. I'm like, who are you? Like, why? And they were all new people that started working here. So we got off on the wrong foot.
Same question about McDonald's. I mean, I've eaten only occasionally at Arby's, but it's infinitely better than McDonald's,
McDonald's
which is utter
so
shit.
nasty.
But I do love the McChicken. That's my guilty pleasure.
have
And
you had a Burger King chicken?
yeah, the Burger King here closes at like 6:45.
What?
I don't know. It's
What?
weird. And apparently the
Sounds
manager's
11.
sketchy.
11.
Yeah. ours
Well,
They
is-
might be able to make it tonight.
I just had one yesterday. Or no, it was the day before yesterday.
Go to Arby's and ask for a meat mountain.
Meat
Yeah.
Mountain, yes.
Yes.
My son's friends work at Arby's, and I've just learned about the Meat Mountain recently. I very much want to go get one, but apparently they get very pissed off when people order them.
Sounds a little
Like
sexual.
every meat they have,
Is
they
in the
put
meat
it,
mountain.
yeah,
So it just takes a long time to
to
make.
slice
Right.
it and everything. Yeah.
I kind of want to do that at Subway.
Our nearest one is no.
I had Subway recently. Arby's?
Yeah,
Where
Murraysville.
the hell's an Arby's? Monroeville. Everything's in
Really?
Monroeville.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yes.
Ask Josh and Nathan about the Chinese food inside the mall. Apparently they had a bad experience.
Monroeville?
Yeah.
Which Chinese?
I don't know. Whatever, probably generic,
Well, I could tell
mall
you
one.
about that from working at that mall. If you ever had to go into the back and walk through the halls
That would
behind
just be in the food hall.
the food court, yeah.
Yeah.
If you walk the back halls behind the food court, you will see big giant totes containers
Nope.
of chopped up chicken just sort of sitting in the back outside of the door of the Chinese places.
Suddenly I'm not hungry.
That does not stop me from getting it though, because it's the Sakura place. I've never had a bad experience with that one.
What
That's-
about those the malls that have like the Sarku Japan? I know, like South
That's-
Hills.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking
Oh,
about.
that
That's
is?
good.
Oh
That's
wow.
a good one. Now there's similar places in the food court at Monroeville. Not that I try to avoid that place like the absolute plague, but when I am forced to go there, I like to get the Sakura.
There's one good reason to go to the Monroeville Mall,
There's
and that is
no
the
good reason.
Barnes and Noble, which isn't.
But you don't
actually-
have to go in
It's
the mall.
not actually in the mall,
No.
but it's a great bookstore.
Yeah, it is nice.
Barnes and Noble kind of like I'm just Mr. Anti tonight, but they kind of pissed me off a few years back. South
Oh.
Hills, believe it or not.
You're
I-
easily upset.
I go in and I'm
Okay.
like, hey, do you have a Quest for a Fantastic Future, the Elon Musk biography that was like the unofficial one? And then they're like, yeah, we do. And I was like, great, I'll buy it. And they're like, that'll be
You have to order
$30. And
Oh.
I'm like, it's $15 on the website. They're like, yeah, we can't price match the website. And I was like,
Wow.
hold on, let me get this straight. You're selling something on the website for 50% less, and I want to buy it right now. And your response is you have to order it online for that price.
That's crazy. What's the reasoning?
That's their policy.
Seems kind of dumb, especially when they should be thrilled that anybody is
It's
still,
still going to a
the
bookstore.
bricks and mortar
Yes.
store.
Yes.
I'm always chiding myself that I don't do it more often, but Amazon is just so damn convenient. Click, click,
Yep.
done.
Bezos got my bucks.
And it's here, you know. But I'll be the one crying when Barnes and Noble closes.
Yeah.
I don't think they
By the
can.
same token, I daren't go into Barnes and Noble because I go in and I come out with a stack of books.
They make it very easy to do that.
They do, and I'm I'm a sucker anyway. I buy books much faster than I read them. I'm just about coming to the end of the Poe biography, the Reason for the Darkness of the Night, which is very good. But I've got a stack of books. I can see them staring
You have
accusingly at me
stacks of books everywhere.
from here in my
Everywhere.
office that are waiting to be read. But you know, but I can't resist it. There's another interesting book, and there's another interesting book, and there's another interesting book.
Yes, Nick, the Dawn of the Dead Mall. That's Monroeville Mall.
Yeah, but don't be tempted,
Yeah.
folks.
There's nothing there.
There's nothing that you associate with the movie left, and the place sucks. Like the icing rink.
The skating ring's
rink
not there. The
has long
fountains
since
aren't
gone.
there. The stairs aren't there. It's
Yeah.
completely different. Completely different.
It's like any other mall America, only worse.
My first job there was taking pictures of kids on Santa's lap with Polaroid camera when I was like 16. And that ages me.
It aged you as well, I bet.
Well, a little bit. Did. It was a little stressful at times, the parents and all. Yeah, Polaroids, kids, Polaroids. Not for nostalgic reasons, but because that was the technology at the time.
Cutting edge.
Yeah. And all the Santas were perverts, and I suggest not taking your children and putting them on their laps. And I don't think I ever took my kids to Santa. After knowing what kind of not knocking all mall Santas, mind you, but the experiences I've had with mall Santas while working with mall Santas are very eye-opening.
Oh,
Just saying.
Sound like Stefan again.
Huh?
You sound like-
Stefan.
Yes.
The things these eyes have seen. Yes. Yeah. Polaroids with perverts. Yeah, I do have some stories. I do.
that's a segment.
Yes.
The one Santa used to steal shit. Like the parents would get very distracted and leave stuff, and he'd fucking steal it.
He's got the bag to stash it.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That is absolutely incredible.
In fact, I remember
God.
somebody left a bag with I remember it was Elizabeth Taylor White Diamonds perfume set from Macy's or whatever
Wow.
it was at the time, Pennies or something. And somebody left it behind, and he fucking snatched that thing so quick. He was like, I'm fucking taking this. You girls want to bring any of these home to your moms? I was like, no, I'm good, thanks.
Nathan said the real life Bad Santa movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure that idea was come by honestly, really.
Wow.
I mean, like nobody's gonna go back and confront Santa. They're gonna be like, "Oh, I probably,
Santa, did you
left it in the
steal my
food
mother's
court."
Did you see who
perfume?
stole the perfume?
Because the last thing you in here
Yes,
is
you
that's
went
like a
that way.
double-edged sword.
Whoa,
You're
whoa.
not gonna fight Santa in front of your 3-year-old.
No.
Santa's got that down right. I wonder what he's up to these
Absolutely.
days.
Take Santa's
Yep.
word for it. If he said no, it's a guy who just ran off down.
Yeah.
Look, if you hurry, you'll catch him. Quick.
Blame it on
when
an
Hot
elf.
Topic was seen as the goth shit. Yeah, I do remember. Yeah, Hot Topic used to be dark. It was
Yeah, they used to have like the
scary
gates in the front.
Yeah, like the iron and stuff.
Now you
and
walk in,
now it's
there's like
some Disney store now.
anime, like I don't
Yeah.
even know.
They had to brighten it up a bit.
Censoring myself.
Aren't we trying to do something with Hot Topic? Or we not to badmouth them?
No
maybe?
idea. nothing wrong with Hot Topic.
No, I like they have a lot of great stuff, but like
Yeah, I'll still
like
go
the
out.
inside it like
Clearance section.
from the mall like perspective, like well at the same time like malls look completely different now than what they did.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
like
it was like a dark, brooding looking, like mysterious, kind of scary store. Now it's like,
hello.
hello, come in, Disney characters and things. And it did not
No,
start off like that
no,
at all.
No.
Have
Limited
we,
experience of Hot Topic myself.
have we seen the made for TV movie The Beast, which was about a giant kraken? It's one of my favorite horror films of all time. I don't think I know that. You know that? Was that fairly new? Was that an Asian horror?
I don't know.
It's not the Korean movie with the thing that
The
comes
thing with
out
the
of the
thing-
river.
Possibly. No, that isn't that Monsters or Monster. I don't
No,
know.
Monsters. Monsters was the one with the couple in Mexico, which we really liked that. Monsters. Remember, it had like the Lovecraftian
Yes.
monsters around the gas station at the
Yes.
end,
Yes.
which we thought
Yeah.
they did really
Yeah.
well.
Sort of like quietly in the background a
that-
bit.
People are saying The Host.
Oh, the
The ho-
host.
that-
It-
okay,
okay,
right,
that's
right,
the Korean
right.
movie. Assuming
Yeah, that was
No,
good.
It
That was
was.
good.
Um,
Oh, Peter Benchley. That's yeah.
who wrote Jaws?
Yeah. So that's an older movie then. The
The
Beast. Right.
Puppet
It's-
Master was amazing. Yes,
Puppet Master. I'm sure I've seen Puppet Master. I
Yes.
don't know how.
terrified me as a kid.
Really?
Oh yeah, that was like one of the first movies. Like I saw like all like the classic like the Hellraiser, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday, everything like all within like a couple month period as a kid.
Mhm.
And Puppet Master terrified me the most because I had
Mm.
toys. I'm like my fucking toys are gonna come to life and murder
Kill
me
you.
in my sleep.
Yeah. You know what was freaky was was it called Cat's Eye? Is that what it was called with the cat that it would sit on the girl on her
Man.
chest, and then there was a little troll with a little sort of wavy
God,
knife that
I
would come
know.
out like a little tiny.
Yep.
I think it
God,
was Stephen King, wasn't it?
I don't know.
Don't know. That was
Chat, help us out here.
Cat's Eye. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Cat's
they just
Eye.
said Cat's Eye.
Yeah.
Okay, that works.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he wanted to steal your breath. That's right. And they blamed it on the cat. That's the thing. The
How
little
dare you
troll was
blame it on
trying to
cats?
steal the girl's breath, but the cat was trying to save
They
it
had that reputation, cats. And this
Yes.
particular thing, because
because of milk, babies.
the thing I remember that people, certainly in Liverpool, when the weather was good, babies would be put outside in their prams.
Mhm.
But then they'd have netting over the top of the prams. And I remember having it explained to me that this was to keep the cats off,
Mhm.
because cats would lie on babies' faces and suffocate them. So I wonder if the cat's eyes
Well, I'll tell you
idea is
this.
taken from that.
When my twins were born and they were still both in the same crib when they were little, and we had a cat, and I was freaked out thinking that my cat, even though she's a good cat, I was afraid that she was
That was
gonna.
Belle?
That was Bell, yeah. I was afraid she was going to jump in the crib. So we actually had this thing. They sell these things that you put over the crib. They're
Right,
sort of like a
yes,
tent
Yes.
that keeps the cat from getting in. Then I just realized the cat does not give a fuck anyway.
No.
So we took it off eventually.
She stood guard over you anyway.
She did.
through-
She
through your
did when I was
pregnancy,
pregnant. Yeah, she
yeah.
did.
Doug, I actually have one of my friends joined. He's in the chat as Tommy Jarvis. He was the one who gifted me that Pinhead figure that I showed you a couple weeks back.
Nice.
Mm.
Oh, Dolls. Yes. Dolls was creepy. Dolls is still creepy. Do you know that one, David?
No.
It's like it's an older couple, sort of like toy maker sort of characters. And I can't remember, it's like people were staying or lost and were staying at their home or something, and there's all these this variety of dolls around. Of course, they're all haunted and possessed, and
Yeah, why would they not be?
but I any movie with mannequins and dolls.
Pin.
Pin.
Hmm.
Watch Pin. That's what's his name in that? Who was in The Stepfather? So we have one of those shows. What's it called? It's that guy in that movie.
He was in Lost. And
Yes.
Great
What's
show.
his name? What's his name?
Is it Terry?
Terry O'Quinn.
Terry
Yeah,
O'Quinn?
yes.
Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, the movie's called, yeah, somebody's saying Terry O'Quinn. Yes, it was like the parents were, or the father was a doctor, and they had like this anatomical teaching doll.
John Locke.
And there was a brother and sister, and it's sort of like a la Flowers in the Attic vibe a little bit, with the brother and sister weirdness. And then the pin, it was short, I think it was short for Pinocchio, and they call him Pinocchio, but it was
Was it?
Pin.
I think so.
Yeah,
Yes.
really freaky. Look it up.
Strange.
Yeah.
There needs to be a horror movie about a cobbler. I feel like that's just a missed opportunity.
Hmm.
I don't know what you would do. Like the
About
haunted
what?
shoe.
A cobbler.
A cobbler.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, haunted
Must
shoes.
have been.
Yeah, Magic with Anthony Hopkins on Anthony
Mhm.
Perkins. Yes.
Very much so.
Did you
Yes.
download that Apple TV app yet? Classics.
I did not. But I will
Stuart
endeavor to
Gordon
do that.
directed Dolls. I did not
Did
know
he?
that.
There you
Yay,
go.
Tourist Trap. One of my
Mm.
absolute favorites. So fucked up. Do you know that one?
Nope.
Come on, David.
I know. Probably watching Pokemon or something.
Watch Tourist Trap. Yeah, I
And,
saw that
what's
entirely.
the one I always call it Wrong Turn. It isn't called Wrong Turn, but it's about taking a wrong turn. It's with Lynn Shay.
Oh, and
uh,
Ray Wise.
Ray Wise.
Dead End.
Dead End. That's
Dead End's
good.
really good.
What about The Void? Did you guys see that?
Saw that. We liked it because it had
Yes.
practical
Yes,
effects.
yes.
And it didn't give too much
Liked
away.
it a lot. In fact,
Yeah.
it's kind of in my mind to
Yeah, we
track
should
that
watch
down
it
and
again.
watch it
I
again.
wouldn't mind that.
Great movie.
Mm.
Is that real? Dolls had the actress. Didn't Dolls have the actress who appeared in the Aha Take on Me video?
Wow. Wow.
Tourist Trap and Motel Hell. Dead End was good, yes. See? Very good. Talking Tina from the Twilight Zone episode with Telly
Telly
Savalas.
Savalas, yeah.
Twilight Zone is so
Talking
good.
Tina, and I don't think I like you very much. Maniac.
Superb
What
in that.
about I obviously everybody's pretty much seen like a black and white Twilight Zone, but what about that early 2000s color version
movie?
they did
Yeah.
with like Jonathan Davis like did like the intro? Like, I
The
think that had some
giant,
good
Oh
episodes.
wait. 2000?
It was like 2002 to like 2004. Like
Oh no, I don't know that at all.
there was it was a color they followed a lot of the premise, you know, from like some throwback episodes, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty well done.
I don't even know.
Yeah, God, I
Didn't know
forget
about
what thank you Alexia for the sub.
Thank you.
I don't know who directed it.
Trilogy of Terror. Oh, the Zuni fetish doll and Trilogy of Terror. Trilogy of Terror is probably one of my favorite horror anthologies. And what was the other one? Tales from the Crypt. That was with Peter Cushing, correct?
Very much so.
Yes.
Is he in Tales? Well, that's all the Amicus movies.
Yes,
Tales from the
yeah.
Crypt and The Vault
Asylum.
of Horror.
Yeah.
And some of them are Amicus and some of them are not. There's the one where Cushing is running the
Curiosity
antique
shop.
shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a
Yes.
good question I've seen in the chat a couple times tonight. What's your favorite horror comedy?
Oh, that's easy for me. Return of the Living Dead, hands down. And it usually doesn't work. Horror comedy, in my opinion, usually does not work.
Does Zombieland count?
I don't-
Does it?
Yeah, kind of, maybe.
I mean, I watched it, but I
I do love all the Abbott and Costello meets movies. I love The Raven. Peter Lorre, Boris Karloff, and Vincent Price.
is that considered a horror comedy?
Oh yeah,
Is it?
yeah,
Unintentional though.
yes.
Oh, yeah, I'm not
But
talking about an
but
intentional horror
think
comedy.
I think they may have started seriously, but there's a moment when Vincent Price is walking across his room and he bumps his head on the telescope, and they kept it in. And they kept on filming, and then when Peter Lorre plays the Raven, And initially it's a raven with Peter Lorre's voice, and then it turns into Peter Lorre in a bird suit. So I think it was always
Barely
pretty much
remember.
intended. It finishes with a great kind of magic fight between Karloff and Vincent Price. But when Vincent Price opens the lattice window to the
I
raven,
don't remember.
Peter Lorre starts talking in a thick Bronx accent. It's
I was in the grocery store today and I saw someone with an Abbey normal shirt on, and the back of it said Young Frankenstein and musical. And I wanted to go talk to the person, but I didn't.
I was about to jump onto Young Frankenstein.
Yes.
I have my Young Frankenstein dolls on top of my bookcase on the other side of that wall. I don't think you can better Young Frankenstein, can you? Really?
Well, I mean, it's a great.
Oh, sweet mystery of life at last. Frau Blucher is one of the great.
He's got a. He's
he
got
must
a
have an
huge
enormous Schwanzstocke.
Schwanzstocke, yes. Slither. Slither is good. I think that's like a late 90s, early 2000s. I think Michael Rooker is in it,
Right.
if I'm not mistaken. That was good.
Yeah.
I don't think horror comedy typically works, but there are a few. Creepshow.
I was going to do a horror comedy.
Love that shirt.
And it's actually there were. I was going to mention them before he skedaddled to watch the Dodgers. Couple of movies that Robert and I were slated to do together that then never happened. And if I could go back, and change things, there's a small number of movies that I really, really wish had happened that just didn't. You know, the normal thing, everything's set up and then it turns to silence. And it was very rare that I've been sent a horror comedy script. This one was superb and it made me laugh out loud a lot. And what I loved about it was it was genuinely very funny, but it took its horror very seriously. It was basically a Lovecraftian story, and it was centered around a kind of, I'm going to use the word advisedly, retarded serial killer. I think he was called Walter or Gerald or something like that. And he had a Yog Sothoth, which fans of Lovecraft will be familiar with that, with a Yog Sothoth, one of the kind of eldritch gods, living in his head.
Okay.
And he had a metal plate on the top of his head, and occasionally he'd undo the screws and hinge it back and feed a cheese sandwich to the Yog Sothoth, which would come out of his head and eat the cheese sandwich, and and then go back into Walter's head or whatever his name was, and then screw it back down again. And he was a serial killer working on behalf of Cthulhu. So when he killed, the Yog Sothoth harvested the souls and fed them to Cthulhu. And when he had achieved a given number of kills, Cthulhu would be able to break through into the human sphere. And Walter was working on a checklist of people that he had to kill, which was hilarious in and of itself, because it was things like that he had to kill anyone who had ever worked in public relations. So it was, the writer had kind of drawn up a wish list of people that he hated. Walter had been incarcerated, not surprisingly, in a mental asylum for a while. So the killings had stopped, and then he was out and killing again. And I was playing one of the two detectives on his trail, and I had been on his trail prior to his incarceration. So it was now a race against time to get to Walter before he achieved his 32nd kill, which would be to kill anyone who ever bought an Elton John album. And I read the script and I thought, this is so good. And it was a really, really good part for me. And as I say, it made me laugh out loud, which is unusual.
Lol.
And I went for a lovely dinner in Soho in London with the writer and the director and the producers and a couple of other cast members. And we had a great lunch, great meeting, positive vibes. We all shook hands and looked forward to working together, and
Nothing happened.
silence. It's a great shame. I would love to have done some horror comedy, but there's not much of that around these days.
Best, worst, intentionally horrible horror movie. We call that awful-tastic
Awful.
around these parts. So me and a friend of mine would
Came up with
have
that
intentionally
tag.
awful-tastic movie nights.
I'm trying to remember
Deathbed, the bed that eats
the
people.
bed that eats people. And well, we had this conversation, I think, the other week. We're going to start going around in circles on this show, I think. I was trying to remember the one about the people lost in the woods that kind of turned into no, Shrooms is pretty dreadful, but it wasn't Shrooms.
Killer Sofa? There's a Killer Sofa? Is that like a sequel to
Yes.
Deathbed?
Killer Sofa was mentioned, I think.
Nah,
They're going through all the
Sharknado
household furniture.
People went into the woods, and it kind of turned into a musical.
Oh,
Yeah, you were
like-
talking about that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
yeah.
I can't remember what it's called. It
You
was
were in the UK. We were having a
fucking
conversation on Skype
terrible.
about it. Yeah. I
Tommy
remember.
Jarvis. I know you're the movie guy. What movie were you talking about? Because I said the total wrong thing. I said it was The Ritual, and I forgot that movie came out like 3 years ago.
right.
Yeah.
No,
Wasn't that
that's
an M. Night something or other?
Shyamalan Bang Bang.
Shyamalan.
M. Night Chaka Khan.
Oh,
Yeah.
that Office intro.
I don't
with
know.
that.
I can't remember the name of it. Yeah.
All right, hold on. I'm gonna go to Google. So,
For Unicorn? Is that
really
real?
awful.
Lost in Forest turns into
Musical
musical.
horror.
Thanksgiving. I've seen Thanksgiving. That's
I won't recognize the title if you come up with it. I'd need to see
That's
the
a
film.
trauma
to say,
film.
Yes, that's it. Trauma's good for
Greasy
us,
Strangler.
anyways. Greasy
I
Strangler.
fucking love the Greasy. You still haven't seen it. I have a
No, I
very
haven't.
funny story about that.
Don't go into the woods.
How many people have seen Greasy Strangler in chat? Tell me if you've seen the Greasy Strangler. Okay, so there's a few people. Greasy Strangler. Okay. Okay. So imagine, if you will, it's I don't know, 9-10 o'clock in the morning in
Probably
Phoenix,
earlier
Arizona,
than
a few
that.
years ago. We have a lovely room provided to us by the show promoter that we were at, Mad Monster Party, I think.
I also ought to add a level of color, which was that the hotel was Native American owned.
Mhm.
And they did this wonderful thing where early in the morning around the pool, they started playing Native American
Oh, it's lovely
like
music,
flutes
just sort
and
of,
drum music.
yeah,
Very soothing.
not too intrusive or anything,
Just
very
at a nice
nice
volume and
you-
very
birds
gentle and lovely coyotes wandering around the hotel perimeter.
yeah. So very nice what do you call that, balcony, our room. You go out in our balcony and you can see the very large, very beautiful pool. And Doug's
Desert
out
beyond.
in the pool swimming all by himself. He's the only one in the pool. And I look over to the left, and towards the pool, it's Big Ronnie from the Greasy Strangler with his robe on, open. He did have trunks on, but an open robe and flip-flops or slippers or something, shuffling towards the pool. And I'm looking at him, and I'm looking at Doug, and I'm looking at him, and I'm looking at Doug. And Doug has no idea because he hasn't seen the Greasy Strangler. And I was completely losing my mind, laughing. And I don't know why I didn't take pictures. Why didn't I take pictures of that or video?
It was a long way away.
Yeah, Michael St. Michael. That is his actual name, is Michael St. Michael. And
Cool.
I have pictures, autograph picture of him. I went to say hi to him at some point, and he insisted that I take one of his 8x10s, which unfortunately I cannot display because it is him naked with his very large and oddly shaped prosthetic penis and I have his autograph, but it's not one I can frame and put on the wall.
Interesting choice for an 8x10.
He's like, here, take this. Okay. But he's a nice guy. He's a cool guy. And very much like his character, I have to say. Him and Skyler, I think is the actor's name, who played his son in the movie. And they are characters. Like real characters. But yeah. Real name Michael Rappaport. That's not true, is it? Is that why he's called Michael St. Michael?
No way.
No, Michael Rappaport's a completely
No, I know
different
he is.
actor.
But maybe
Yeah.
his name was Rappaport, and that's why he changed to Michael St. Michael. I don't know. I don't know.
Could be.
And I
Always
know
possible.
he was like a hairstylist or something. He had like
Really?
a salon. Yeah, very odd background. I don't know. Elijah Wood had something to do with that movie, with the Greasy
He did?
Strangler. He was very, very insistent that it got made. Yes. Was he wearing his pink hat? No, he was not. He was not. Yeah. The hologram sleeping bag scene at the end of Jason X. I've never seen Jason X. I haven't seen a lot of horror movies, believe it or not. I had a similar incident being in a hot tub at Rock and Shock and locked eyes with Poncho from 31 on Treadmill. I don't know who that is.
You get what you deserve for being in a hot tub in the first place.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
Oof. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
What?
Human bacteria soup.
It's like people's soup, man.
There was a swimming pool.
Which I also do not do. But hot though, like a stew of skin flakes and fluids. Come on, who wants to do that?
Oh, you're supposed to shower afterwards.
No thanks. It's really weird though. I find that hot tub is very small, sort of.
I'm not gonna go to like a communal one. I'm not gonna like go to a hotel and if I see like Bob and Sherry in the
People do that.
Yeah,
It's
well,
a bunch of like almost naked people.
they're a
sitting
special kind of
in their
special.
underwear in a hot tub. It's very strange.
Like I probably wouldn't get in a hot tub with Josh Balls, but I'd if I owned one, I would use it.
Monster Squad, yes.
Great movie.
So what are you looking up? Are
I
you
was looking
up
up
St.
Michael St. Michael to see if he
Yeah.
was called Michael, but he doesn't appear to have a Wikipedia. I can't
I'm
see
sure
I
that.
he
love
does.
Wikipedia so much.
Sure he does. Yeah, my sister just texted me that Kylie Jenner is doing a Nightmare on Elm Street makeup collection. We talked to Robert a bit about that
I
beforehand.
saw that. Yeah.
He knows nothing about it and seems to be very happy.
The Burbs, great
That's
movie as
great.
well.
I like The Burbs, yeah.
I watched that on Xbox in like 2007, coincidentally. It was like a free movie of the day or something.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Good old T. Hanks.
TV movie in the midnight hour? Don't know what that means. Someone says, I'm jumping in with Bob and Sherry. Well, you go right ahead. Dead Alive. Dead Alive was
Dead Alive.
well,
Oh.
what's
Oh, what was that awful thing that
that does not narrow
Kenneth
it down.
Branagh and Emma Thompson did?
Oh, Dead Again.
Dead Again.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, embarrassing. Awful. If anyone's seen that, doing terrible American accents.
Troll 2, yes. I grew up with HBO in my room when I was very young and saw a lot of things I shouldn't have seen. But Troll and Troll 2 were always on, and I always watched them. And I haven't seen them in age. I think Jen Aniston, it was like one of her
Really?
first movies was
Oh.
the Troll movie.
Love
She
Jen.
probably doesn't talk about that much.
I bet she would if she was asked. Let's get her on. Talk to her about it.
I wish this was like one of those like late night TV shows to where we can just start phoning people, like those old like I don't know. They would always be on at like midnight, like 3
Okay.
at like the public access, whatever.
Call Jen.
Yeah.
Hey, Jen. Sorry to disturb you so late.
I was just lamenting the loss of the ability to make good prank phone calls
Son of the Ghoul.
back before the days of caller ID.
Caller ID.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all
You can
over
still
now.
star 67.
Or 67, but yeah, it's just not fun anymore. You know, we used to call there's a Christian television channel local to the area that used to broadcast, and they'd have a prayer line where you can call and ask for prayers. And we used to call there quite a bit.
I will call a
We
prayer
were never
line right
nasty.
now
We
if
were
there's one
never-
available.
We were never abusive or nasty or anything. We just made up these scenarios and characters and would call in and be on the phone with these people for long periods of time. And we'd call back sometimes as the same character. And one where my friend got eaten by a shark and we made pray, we were kids. But that was fun. And I miss
Did you
prank
call
phone
back
calls.
to complain? Because
Oh,
your
my
mother
prayers were not answered.
Yeah.
says,
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, he's dead.
I want a refund.
And then you were just talking about like Jaws the entire time. You were like talking about the plot.
Phone Losers of America still makes prank calls. They use Skype.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, but I mean, the world's just a different place now. I feel like.
Yeah, like you'll offend somebody,
Yeah.
it'll go viral, and you'll like
Yeah.
get canceled.
You don't have to talk to me like that.
Jerky Boys. Remember the Jerky
Yes.
Boys?
Yep,
That was good.
that was that line. You have
Don't
to talk to me
order
like
free holy water. They never fucking leave you alone. Didn't we get like some sort of weird? Remember that we have it hanging
that.
up
Oh,
on the.
God, with the blood.
We got like a
Little
little
sachet of-
packet of oil or something.
But with blood in it, wasn't it? Or
No, they call it blood, but it's
Yeah,
like a
it was
packet of
red.
like oil or
Yes.
something.
Well, it was.
And they give
with
you a
the-
prayer rug, which is just a
which-
piece of paper. Oh, the one hanging in the bathroom.
It's hanging on the wall
Yeah, in the bathroom, in
Prayer
the Jesus
rug.
bathroom. Yeah,
and if you stare at Jesus long enough,
His
his
eyes
eyes will
open.
open.
yeah. Which it
And
doesn't.
he'll
I've
look at
tried
you.
it.
No, I've
It's right across from the toilet. And
Yeah,
you could sit
I've
there and
sat
stare at
there-
it. And it
sat there concentrating in two directions at once, a number of times, and he's never opened his eyes yet. Bastard. Such a tease. And as for his fans,
Don't go there. I've never seen the Jerky Boys movie.
Just like Garth Brooks.
Yeah. Oh well, it's about 10 after 10.
yes,
And I think we've done what we've come to do. And if you didn't catch Robert, apologies for that. He had an hour to spend with us.
yes, I always tell guests, we're open ended and we'll go on forever if need be. But if you need to leave early, then so be it. And Robert did. So
Yeah, and I think it was a good conversation. We'll definitely.
Yeah, that it was unreal.
I
So
I hope so.
if anybody gifted a sub, please message us on Instagram at Horror Hub Marketplace to redeem your prize. And then Koala and Never Ends won
thank you to
some
everybody.
coffee,
Cool.
some
Yeah,
Robert Englund coffee.
excellent.
Yeah, thank you to everyone who
Yes,
who
thank you
got
all.
subs. And if you do want to watch the replays, like I said, it's not a reoccurring charge. So if you just want to get a sub for a month in
Good
order
shows,
to
I
watch,
think. I mean, there's quite a lot of
Yeah.
the open forum shows.
Yeah.
We've had a show with Josh Balls, with Mick Garris,
Peaches Christ.
We almost
Scout
got Nathan to
Cock.
go naked.
almost got Nathan to take his clothes off.
We did, yes.
He did it
Um,
off camera though.
Oh,
'cause-
what's a sub? What's a sub? $5 or so around there.
yeah, $5. Ooh,
You know,
Tommy Jarvis with the gifted sub. Yeah.
So
Or if you
for
have Amazon
$5,
Prime,
you
it's
get
free.
access to all of those shows for a month. And if you don't want to keep it up, then
Yeah, don't have to.
you don't have to. I wish
but
Gunnar
we'd love
Hansen
it
was
if you
still
do.
around. We do too.
Oh.
We were just talking about Gunnar
And
Talking
you
Hansen.
get
about him
special
yesterday.
emotes as
Yeah.
well, as you can see in the chat.
I miss him so much. I miss him so much.
Yeah,
Great guy.
but
$7.99 in Canada. Blame your prime minister.
someone said, "Thanks, Steph. Now I can't get Hootie Tootie Disco Cutie out of my head." You're welcome. That's a Greasy Strangler reference.
No.
Yeah.
We did break a
So-
viewership record tonight.
Well, that's good. Thank you,
300.
everyone. Oh, good.
We've had 160 for the last, hour.
Okay.
Well over 100 subs on the night. Like the support and the chat, like it's a good thing when we can't keep up with the chat in a way.
I mean, I try. I'm one person, one nervous, anxiety riddled person, and I try my best to work through things. So, I do what I can. And
You're doing great, Steph.
Sterling
thanks.
job.
Thanks. So I think it's just gonna be us next week if you want to come back and hang out with us. If not,
Maybe
fuck
we'll
you.
order a pizza.
Just kidding.
Oh, should we do pizza? Should we do the pizza?
Maybe
next
we'll
week?
get the pizza next
We'll
week.
do. We'll need to
Mysterious
check
Judas,
their
thank you.
menu first and make sure
Make
they
sure-
haven't changed.
Yeah,
everything.
make sure they didn't go through a drastic remodel.
You're probably now, doing sausage and pepperoni.
Yeah, like a classic,
yeah,
Jesus.
like what you actually put on a pizza.
Meat lovers pizza.
Other than-
Neapolitan pizza.
Yeah.
Ooh,
But,
Neapolitan.
okay.
Tomato.
And then Steve Gonzalez coming up soon. We'll give you an
Yes.
exact date as soon as we know, and a few other cool people that we are waiting to schedule.
Yep.
So yeah. What does that mean? You can't put me on a copy machine. What does that mean? Is that an insult or is that a compliment? I can't tell.
Can't do
Don't know.
what? Put
You cannot put stuff on a copy machine.
on
I
a
don't know-
copy.
I don't know what that
machine.
means.
I think that's a compliment.
Okay,
Like
good.
that you're
I'll-
one of a
I'll
kind and
just
you can't be
pretend it is,
copied.
even if it isn't.
That's the way I took it.
I don't lose sleep over it.
I'm going to try it as soon as the show's over.
Okay. All right, everybody.
Everybody, thank you very, very much indeed.
Go stay at
hope
the
you
Buffalo
enjoyed the
Bill
show.
House.
Yes.
Go to Doug's website,
Do
buy
that.
shit, subtour, show,
Dogladley.com
drink
//
parlor,
store.
root beer. What,
Buy
what else are we
things,
pushing?
buy things at Horror Hub Marketplace.
Yes.
Tell me what to eat from Taco Bell.
There is nothing better than a good old fashioned hard taco, no tomatoes, add sour cream.
Nope. Don't like
No
sour cream.
Sour cream.
I
No.
Yep,
think
we've
Can't
talked
help you.
heavily about this.
I've got
Pintos
time.
and cheese.
I think
Ah,
I'm going to
I don't do
Burger
beans either.
You want a Burger King?
King.
All right.
I think
Doug's
you
go
have
first.
to.
But
You might have to come with me. I don't think I can do Burger King on my own. I get confused.
you get confused.
I do.
You have to say I want a chicken. Go ahead. We'll practice ordering. You have to say chicken.
Good evening. I hope you're having a very pleasant day. Just perusing your menu. Would it be possible to order the chucking sandwich with some hot chips?
Hot chips.
God. Mm. That hot
Okay.
chip
All
thing
right,
still gets
that's
me
it.
heated.
Okay. We love you all. Thank you for being here, and we hope we'll see you again. And in the meantime, peace.
Night, everybody.